Shalom, everyone. Shavuot Tov. Today we're starting the new book, a new parasha, the book of Shemot, known also as the book of Exodus. And the book of Shemot is about the Exodus, about the great story of the Israelites in Egypt and their journey out of Egypt into the wilderness and Mount Sinai revelation. This is the major story of this book. The question is that each one of us has to ask is, what's in it for me? Okay, and that's what's important. So our sages say, Chayav kol adam lirot et atzmo כאילו hu yotze mimitzrayim. Every person must see himself like he is leaving Egypt. When? Okay, that's a question. So usually it's being related to the Passover Seder. Okay, why? Because on the Passover Seder we tell the story of the Exodus. We read the Haggadah, which means telling the story of the Exodus, and we're supposed to experience the light of the Exodus of getting out of Egypt. However, this is simplistic. And the more meaningful is that twice a year, we have a special support from above, that support is based on the forces that let the Israelites out of Egypt and bring the message of freedom to the whole world. Okay? The power of that message is basically vibrating through every day, every hour. If you read the Hebrew prayer book, the memory of the Exodus is being mentioned again and again and again repeatedly in every prayer. Okay, so it's something that we have to see ourselves experiencing every day, morning, noon, night. Okay, why is that so important? So let us understand what's the concept behind. Here we have a story of the Israelite nation coming into Egypt, going down, the word is going down into Egypt, not emigrating, going down, VaEra, redu, going down to Egypt, because Egypt is a symbol for a low place. We're not talking about right now geography. We're talking about symbolism, because what if I've never been to Egypt? What do I have to celebrate? And the answer is, Rabbi Chaim Vital is saying, if you want to see it as a parable, the parable is like this. Every human being is made of two forces. It's the soul and the body. The soul is made of many, many parts, the same way that the body is made of many parts. And so when the soul is coming to the body, it's not coming at once, it's coming gradually. And the same thing, the Israelites, it says, Haba'im Mitzrayim, coming to Egypt. It's not saying it in past tense, but in present continuous. Haba'im Mitzrayim, which means, are we reading history of something that happened so many thousand years ago, over 33 centuries ago? Or are we talking about something that is happening to us? And Rabbi Chaim Vital is saying, yeah, we can, in the simplest manner, the powers of the soul, the parts of the soul, are coming to this world into a physical body. The physical body is limiting. It's a narrow, limiting, suffocating place for the soul. And the word for that is Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim in Hebrew is also Egypt, the narrow place. How come the Egyptians still call themselves in such a name? Because in Arabic, Egypt is al-Masr. Mitzrayim, it's the same Mem Tzadik Reish, the same Shoresh, which means the narrow, suffocating place. Meitzal. Okay? So when we learn about the Israelites coming to Egypt, and then God is making all of these great miracles to release the Israelites from Egypt into freedom, from slavery into freedom, we are basically reading our own story. We come to this physical body to be suffering because it is for the soul, it's a torture to be inside the body. You cannot see only what your eyes allow you and your brain allows you to see. You cannot hear only what your physical ears allow you to hear and your physical brain, and so on and so forth. We are very limited in this dungeon that is called the physical body. However, the Israelites, they break through Egypt and they go to the desert and they reach Mount Sinai and they reach the level of freedom inside the physical body, which means they learn how to be free while still being in a physical body and reaching connection to godliness and greatness in a body. And by this, they bring down the message that a human being in this world must bring the divine into this physical world, and only then, he will become free. Yes, for the last few centuries, humanity fought a lot for freedom. We fought tyrants, we fought dictatorships, we fought evil, we fought, and a lot of blood has been spilled. Millions of people gave them their lives away so we can experience freedom that we never experienced before in the history of humanity. However, is this real freedom? And the answer, real freedom you can achieve, you cannot get it as a present. Nobody can give you freedom the same way nobody can give you happiness and nobody can give you success. Freedom, happiness, success, these are all things that you need to acquire on your own. If you tried to make somebody happy, you tried to give somebody freedom, it's not easy if they don't want to achieve it on their own. As long as they stay dependent on you, they will never be free, they will never be happy, they will never achieve true lasting feeling of success. So we understand that Rabbi Chaim Vital is saying we have to understand that the story of the Israelites coming out of Egypt is the story of every human being, every day of their life and the story of their lives. And the question is, did you achieve freedom in this life or not? Or how much freedom have you generated or achieved, reached, or conquered during your life? Now, the major miracle story that we read that for, although it is a story from long time ago, why this story of the Exodus is so eternal? So the sages are saying that when we read that story, we have an opportunity. It's like the magical forces that released the Israelites from bondage in Egypt appear every time we read that story. So, yes, as we learn Kabbalah, we understand that every human being, the life story of every human being is the question: did you make the effort to achieve true freedom? And true freedom is, again, not freedom from your boss, not freedom from your who knows what, or from the regime. This is an outcome. Because a person that does not achieve true sense of inner freedom, it doesn't matter wherever you're going to put him with all the possible freedoms, and they will still be feeling victimized, enslaved, controlled, and so on. Because freedom is something that you have, first of all, to achieve internally. Now, our life story is about that, only about it. How do we achieve true freedom? And true freedom to connect to the endless light of the creation that we read about this light in the beginning of the book of Genesis. Okay, now we have magically, that's what the Kabbalists are saying, twice a year, we have an intense cycle that can generate freedom for every human being, okay, in his own individual journey. These two cycles always appear every year when we read the story of the Exodus. So, what are the two times? One time is from Passover for the next 7 weeks till Shavuot. Okay, during these 7 weeks, or basically 7 weeks plus 1 day, 50 days, and 51 days, basically, including Passover day itself. So we have 51 days through which we can take the wave, like, you're surfing on the ocean. You cannot surf if there's no wave. And if there is a wave, you have to know it's coming, and you have to know how to ride the wave. And by this, not that it's easy, but you cannot surf if there's no wave. Okay? You need the wave to surf, but the fact that the wave is coming, if you don't know how to ride the wave, it's a wasted wave. The wave can even drown you. Okay, so when a big, huge wave is coming, it's after you really train yourself how to ride the wave and let the wave move you and take you into the ride of your life. So we have those waves twice a year. Once between the holiday of Passover, that on the first night of Passover, we read the whole story of the Exodus, and we celebrate the Passover night with the matzah, maror, and all of this stuff. Why? Because we want to bring in ourselves those forces that released the Israelites then from Egypt, so we can release ourselves from our own bondage, from our own Egypt. Who is Egypt? The selfish tendency, nature of the body, the evil inclination. When we use and harness those forces on Passover, we can get the ride of our lives. But the ride is not happening only that night. The ride is taking, as I said, 51 days, through which we continue to ride, use the special particular energy that is being revealed every day, till on the 50th day or the 51st day, including the Passover day itself, we come to Shavuot, the day of Mount Sinai revelation, in which we can receive true freedom. As it says that on Mount Sinai, the Israelites arrived to such a level of freedom to the extent that we're free from the angel of death. What can be more than that? Nothing scares you. Nothing gets you into depression or into suppression or disappointment. You're totally free from any touch, taste of the bitterness of death. That what has been achieved during those special heroic days. Now, oh yes, 40 days later, there was a sin of the golden calf. Still, we can ride that magnificent wave every year again during those days from Passover to Shavuot. But there's another opportunity, and that opportunity is called the days of ShOVaVYM, the 6 weeks that we read the story of the Exodus. It's called ShOVaVYM. While in Hebrew, ShOVaVYM is, which means shovav means doing something that is irresponsible, childish, without any responsibility. Okay, but it's not the word is not there because somebody invented it. These are the initials of the names of the 6 parashot of the coming 6 weeks. Shemot, VaEra, BeShalah, Yitro, Mishpatim. Okay, so the meaning is that when we have those 6 weeks, these 6 weeks are there again as a wave that if we ride that wave, we can achieve an amazing advancement in order to be able to ride over our own limitations and achieve freedom. Now, because this year, 5782, is a leap year, during a leap year, you have 2 additional weeks for this time. So it's not ShOVaVYM, it's ShOVaVYM tat. In addition to Shemot, VaEra, BeShalah, Yitro, Mishpatim 6, we have 2 more, Turuma, Tetzaveh, ShOVaVYM tat. So we have in front of us 6 full weeks in which there's a cosmic opening. So we can create a special ride. So by the end of these 8 weeks, we will be much more free from anything deadly. And especially, as I said before, freedom means that anything irresponsible. Why do we behave in irresponsible way? And the answer is because we have the evil inclination. We have that Egypt inside us. We have inside us the Pharaoh. That part of our consciousness is that part that we see through the story that again and again denies the existence of the true endless God of the universe. Why? We have the same thing every day in our lives, that we have those voices, those forces, that it doesn't matter how many times you see miracles, either you deny that you saw the miracles, or you see the miracles and you still hold on like Pharaoh to your own whims and impossible, irresponsible desire, the selfish desires. And when people say, you're talking nonsense. It's like, what are you talking? It's so mystical, evil inclination, the forces of Egypt and the forces of Pharaoh. And I'm asking people, and I'm doing it all the time when people come to that place, very simple. If you guys came to a lecture, you got out of your home and you came to a lecture and you bothered to watch a lecture or listen to it, and you must be intelligent, right? You must be quite intelligent. Now, but I'm asking you right now, how many of you that, you're normal human being, a little bit above the IQ of everybody else because you're interested in learning, improving yourself. That's why you're listening to me right now. So how many of you right now knows about stuff that if he's going to do it or she is going to do it, it's going to be really really beneficial. It's really going to improve your life. Okay, it's not so hard to do it and you still don't do it. Okay, who doesn't have a problem like this? Okay, you should do it. It's not that hard to do it and you still don't do it. How can you explain logically that you have something like this? And also another question on the other side, how many of you knows about stuff that you do it all the time? Okay, it's not good for you. It's going to be really beneficial to you if you don't do it, if you stop that habit. And it's not that hard, and you still continue with that irresponsible habit. Now, of course, each one of us has a problem like this. How do you explain something like this? How do you explain? Again, I mentioned the research of Dr. Daniel Kahneman. He got the Nobel Prize for that, showing and proving that when people come to make a decision that is really important for their life, like getting married, buying a house, buying a car, investing your life savings, you think that you will behave in the most rational way when you come to make the decision, and the answer is most people do not. How come? Okay, so Dr. Kahneman he just published a book. It's called Noise. We have noise, and the noise is our reactions, emotional reactions to all kinds of stuff. This is not a real true desire. How do you call those emotional reactions that distract us from the real true goals of our lives, from our real interest? If it's not the evil inclination, it's not good for us, okay? We all know about it, okay? So all of us need to achieve a level of freedom that we did not experience before. And the coming 8 weeks, this year, 5782, will be an amazing wave coming, and it's going to give us the ability to ride that wave. And when we come to the end of the wave, we'll be much higher, much farther, closer to our goals. So join us for the ride. So how are we going to do it? So we are going to see in every parasha of the coming 8 parashot, what are the levels of thinking, consciousness, awareness that we can achieve and focus on during this week, so we can experience that ride and move on higher and farther towards our goal, which is true real freedom, freeing ourselves from anything that is enslaving, addicting, and putting us in a smaller place than we're supposed to be. So we're going back, in order to do that, to the beginning of the parasha, the beginning of the book of Exodus, which is Exodus chapter 1, verse 1. VaEra Shemot bnei Israel habayim mitzrayma. So as I read before, these are the names of the children of Israel coming. Remember, this is present continuous, to Egypt. Et Yaakov ish uveitovav. They came with Jacob. Each one came with his household. There are lots of codes hidden in this verse. We'll just come to see only a few of them. But the first thing is the second word that I read, Shemot. Shemot means names. These are the names, okay? And the name of the whole book of Exodus in Hebrew is called Shemot, names. Okay, why everything is called names? It looks like the word Exodus sounds much better, fits better the story. But we know thousands of years of experience, we know there's something behind it. When we read the powerful work of Rabbi Isaac Luria, Arizal, and which is the tree of life, and when we go to understand the creation of the world and how the rules of this world came into being and why, that is in the beginning of the tree of life. And here are the words. You should know that before the emanatees have been emanated, and the creatures are being created, there was a light, divine light. It was pashut, which means simple and extending, filling up all of reality. And there was no available space, okay, and vacuum. And everything was fulfilled with that endless, simple light, extending light, expanding, simple expanding light. And this light had no head and no end. אלא הכל היה אור אחד פשוט שווה בהשוואה אחת. But it was all one simple expanding light equally spread. And it's called the endless light, the light of the endless. And then, listen carefully. וכאשר עלה ברצונו הפשוט, when in his simple expanding will came out to לברוא העולמות ולהציל הנאצלים, to create the worlds and to emanate the emanatees, להוציא לאור שלמות פעולותיו ושמותיו וכינועיו, in order to bring out to the light the glory and the greatness and the completion of its actions, its names, and, okay, אשר זאת היה סיבת בריאת העולמות, because this was the reason to create the universes. Okay? Again, I'll repeat, when it came in his will, in his simple expanding will, to create the worlds and to emanate the emanatees. What? In order to bring out to the light the glory and the perfection and the completion of his actions and his names. Here the word is names. What was the purpose of the creation? To manifest to the world his names. This is Parashat, this is the book of Shemot, the book of names, not by mistake, because when does the world get on the journey of realizing the purpose of the whole creation? It starts at the end of the period of the Exodus, which means Mount Sinai revelation. They are there, a whole nation, ex-slaves from Egypt just 50 days ago, and they are there on the mount experiencing all those secrets that we just revealed. They went through a journey through which they had to be raised step by step, so they come to that place in which they can receive the Torah. What does it mean, receiving the Torah? Being able to connect, download, and immerse in themselves all of the purpose of the creation, which means Mount Sinai revelation. The most important thing is getting that, aha, this is what it is for. This is what life is for. This is what we are here for. This is why things happen the way they happen. And part of these things that we're talking about is the manifestation of the names of the Creator. What does that mean? When we give something a name, why do we give names? Okay? Because we want either, I want to know something because I want it. Okay? I want to know somebody's name so I can call them. Today it's a phone number, okay, but I still need a name. Okay? Because when I'm using the names of the Creator, remember, the Creator himself is endless, beyond any imagination, and the endlessness of the Creator is in the negative, which means we, our consciousness, we can experience things only and acknowledge them only by their definitions, boundaries, to define, okay, to limit. The Creator is above any limitation. That's why it is called by the Kabbalists the endless. What does it mean? It's beyond anything we can recognize with our consciousness. So why does he have names? So we can call this light of the Creator into ourselves by using his names. His names are basically vessels that were created, as we just read, in order to reveal his light. his sharing, his will to impart, to share, and to give good. That's what the whole story is about. Now, how is the book of Exodus connected to it? The book of Shemot. As I'm going to show you, the whole book is about names, because the whole book is about training us that if we want to achieve true freedom, real true freedom, okay, from any enslavement. Some people legally, they're free human beings, legally, by the law of the country. However, they have addictions. If you have addictions, are you free? No. They have phobias. If you have phobias, are you free? No. There are places you're not free to go to. There are things you're not free to do because you have a phobia, okay? And if you're depressed, you're even more. You're not free to be happy. You're not free to be who you want to be. And we have all kinds of belief systems that I don't need any enemies when I have those belief systems. That does not mean freedom. Freedom, yeah, legally you're free. So why are you not happy? Why not celebrating every day your freedom? Why are you complaining most day and feel victimized? So if you're complaining and feel victimized, you're not free, because you're not free to be what you want to be and to feel what you want to feel. Okay? Very important to understand that. So the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, it's about learning how to elevate ourselves to a place that will be much more in freedom than we are right now. Okay? Because every year, the cycle of the year is giving us that gift. So when we're talking about the names, let's see a little bit what the Zohar is saying about the names. We'll speak about it later on. Okay, so it's starting with the names of the children of Israel, Shemot, and here are the names of the children of Israel that are also symbolize the different levels of the soul that is coming into the body. Okay, and then the story continues that a new king comes to Egypt that did not know Joseph. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 1, verse 8. And he says to his people, the nation of the children of Israel is so bigger than we are. Let's con him. Let's outsmart him. Because if they grow big enough, they can take over. Okay? And they can release themselves. And they won't be our slaves anymore. We will lose that free labor, slavery. So they start to torture the Israelites. They start to put them under a very firm schedule of daily work. However, verse 12, the more they torture him, the greater the nation of Israel grows. Okay? And again, if we go back to Rabbi Chaim Vital's parable, he's saying the more the body is growing, and as we know, as we grow, we get more evil inclinations. Just compare the evil inclination of a little child and a teenager. What does a little child want? Candies, little tiny egos. Teenagers, they want bigger. And when they're in 20s, much bigger. Okay? So the bigger the body becomes, the bigger the slavery becomes. So that is the enslavement. However, the soul is also growing bigger inside the body as we grow. And as the body is always afraid that the soul is going to take over and stop the enslavement. That's why there's so much in our culture, in our way of life, for the slavery. You don't have enough money because what will happen, there's going to be inflation tomorrow. The banks are going to go bankrupt. What's going to be left for you? How many years you're going to be in a retirement, and you have to work harder. You have to have more money than your neighbor next door. he has this car, you should have a better car, and so on and so on. And you go into that, unwanted race against whom? Against yourself. And you acquire stuff that you don't really need just because of the game of the enslavement of Egypt. That is where we all are. And then there's a story about the birth of Moses. Okay, and a very, very symbolic story. This is the story that Moses is born premature. Still, he doesn't die. And 3 months later, Moses' mother puts him on the Nile, and who finds him? The daughter of Pharaoh. She adopts him. Okay? But then there's one important thing to read. And we'll find it in chapter 2, book of Exodus, verse 10. Vayigdal hayeled, and the boy grew up. V'teviyehu lebat paro, and the mother who raised him and breastfed him brings him to the daughter of Pharaoh. Vahi laleven, and she adopts him as a son. Vatikra shmo Moshe, and she calls him Moshe. Okay? If you read the word Moshe backwards, Hashem, the name. Okay? The name. And it's also one of the 72 names of God, that these names have been revealed during the splitting of the Red Sea. Okay? Moshe, Mem He Shin, is one of the 72 names of God. You can find it on the top if you have the chart. Okay? She calls him Moshe. So the question is, how did she know to call him Moshe? The daughter of Pharaoh. Okay? There are many commentators who are trying to ask this question, but the Zohar is saying that, first of all, most of the commentators are mentioning the fact she had not too much free will. Why? Pharaoh had a prophecy. He heard a prophecy that a boy is going to be born to the Hebrews, and that boy is going to be the one who will redeem the Hebrews from the slavery in Egypt, and he's going to put Egypt into a big disaster. Okay? So Pharaoh gave an order to execute every male boy among the Israelites. So when the daughter of Pharaoh sees him in the Nile, Moses, in his little ark, she opens the ark and she sees a crying child, and she had compassion for him. And she says, he's probably from the children of the Hebrews. Just a second. Didn't your father speak all the time with a lot of fear that boy is going to be born and he's going to bring disaster to all of Egypt? You know the story. How come you didn't think about it, that this boy can be the one? How could she raise the boy in Pharaoh's home and nobody ever thought maybe this is the boy? Okay? Which means when God wants people to think about something else, they will think about something else. We think we make the decisions. We think that we make the decisions according to our own interest. They made a terrible decision. The daughter of Pharaoh saved the boy, adopted him. She raised him in her house as a child of Pharaoh's family. That boy rebelled, and finally, when he came back to Egypt, he brought Egypt to its knees, right? Egypt never became that empire again in history. How, think about they know he's a Hebrew. Maybe what the chances are that he's the one. No, it's like we know something and we could know it through, like so clearly. And when we come to the real moment that we have to put together our knowledge with our actions, doesn't work. Because who puts it together? Why I'm saying that? Because the Zohar is saying, who put the name Moshe in her mouth? God. He put, otherwise we call Moshe, by the name of the daughter of Pharaoh, an Egyptian. Yes, it says that she came out also with them and she became a righteous woman and so on. But at that moment that she meets Moses as a little baby, she's just a daughter of Pharaoh. She's an idol worshiper. Okay? So there's a lot written about it. Here it is. Okay, Or Chaim HaKadosh, Rabbi Chaim Ben Attar is saying about the same thing. When she called him by his name Moses, קריאת שם משה, מגיד הכתוב כי לא השיגה לידה בחינת השם. Not like the mothers, when the fathers and the mothers, they gave names to their children, they had a prophetic understanding, vision of the name, the meaning of the name, the power of the name, and why this name have to be given to that child in order to create greatness in this world. That's what Or Chaim HaKadosh is saying. However, the daughter of Pharaoh did not do that from that place. She did not understand the meaning of that name she gave to Moses. Kishmo Niflaot Yagid, because his name shows about wonders. And come and see what it says in the Zohar, in few places. And it says in the Talmud, Tractate Brachot, page 7b, when it says, Hasam Shemot Ba'aretz, that God puts the names on this earth. What does it mean? Sam Befi Hashem Moshe. God put the name Moshe in her name, put the name Moshe in her mouth. And she said, because why did I give him this name? Oh, because I pulled him out from the Nile. Pull him out from the Nile, the word is meshitiu. Limshot is to pull out. But that's in Hebrew, not in Egyptian. Did she know Hebrew? Okay. I don't see anybody talking about it, that she had. How come she knew Hebrew? Okay. But then the story about names, the saga about the names, is not over. The next verse, and Moses grew up, and he came out to his brothers, and he saw their misery. And he sees an Egyptian man beating up a Hebrew man, one of the brothers of Moses. Verse 12, so he turns here and there. And he sees there's nobody watching. He hits the Egyptian, kills him, and he buried him in the sand. Okay, look at the commentaries. And the commentary is saying, I'm reading now from the Kli Yakar, which is a famous commentary. Okay? אף על פי, פירש רש"י, שלא עיקר ברמת יד. Rashi says, he hit him, but he didn't do it with his hand. Why? Because the Jewish law says, if you hit another person with your hand, you are Rasha. You're not supposed to hit somebody. You're not supposed. Or if somebody comes to kill you, yes, but you're not supposed to hit anyone. That Egyptian that was hitting the Hebrew, okay, he did not want to kill Moses. Okay, so how did he hit him? Rashi says he didn't hit him physically. So the Kli Yakar says, continues, it's a proof. It was not beating him physically with the hand, but beating him with his mouth. Moses used his mouth in order to beat the Egyptian. When it says later on, because when the story continues that the next day he saw a Hebrew man beating another Hebrew man, and he says, why do you hit your brother? And the Hebrew that is beating the other Hebrew says, you're saying to kill me, which means it was with a saying. So Rabbi Isaac Luria adds to it, and he says that he killed him with the holy name Hashem HaMeforash. But let's say what kind of Shem Meforash. He killed the Egyptian with the name. Okay? But then he continues. The Hebrew that is beating another Hebrew the next day, the second day. Okay, and he says, Mi samcha leisa v'shofet aleinu. Who puts you, Moses, to be the man that is our governor and our judge? Like, who put you in the position to tell me what to do? In Rashei Tevot, the initials of Mi samcha leish, sar v'shofet, there are many, many secrets in this verse. But Sofei Tevot, the last letter of the three words, Mi samcha leish, who puts you to be the person, okay? Mi samcha leish, these letters, the Mi is Yud, the last letter, Samcha is Kaf, and the last letter of leish is Shin, Yud, Kaf, Shin, okay? Which is from the name of 42 letters, the Yana Bekoach. On the third line, okay, Yachid Ge Lamcha Pene Zochei Kedushat. No, sorry, that's a Nagi Bordo Sheyudcha Kevavat Shomrem. Yechudcha Kevavat Shomrem. The initials are Youdkevitch, which is a holy, very powerful name. With this name, he killed the Egyptian. He didn't use the whole Nun Gimel Dalet Youdkevitch, only half of it, Youdkevitch, of the third name, third part of the name of 42 letters. Melamed, that's why our sages, it says in Midrash Rabbah, it says Pirkei de Rabbi Elazar, it says in the Zohar, Parshat Amo, in many places that Moses killed the Egyptian with a holy name. Okay? So here we see Moses using a holy name to kill the Egyptian. Again, the name, the whole thing about names comes to the surface in that story. But then it reaches a higher peak when we move on with that story. The story continues. Moses, because he killed an Egyptian, Pharaoh wants to kill him, like, how dare you kill an Egyptian? It's against the law. Only Pharaoh can do something like this. He runs away. Okay? He runs away, and after many years, that's what the commentators are saying, he comes to, 40 years later, he comes to Midian. He meets over there the daughters of Yitro. They bring him home. He marries Zipporah. He becomes a shepherd of Yitro's sheep. Okay, and then the story continues. We'll skip a few verses. Okay, we are in chapter 3, verse 1. And Moses was a shepherd with the sheep of Yitro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. Okay, and he goes to he comes to the mountain of God, Mount Sinai, verse 2, VaEra malach Hashem elav belabatesh, and the angel of God reveals himself to Moses in the fire, the burning bush. Okay, Moses approaches the place. Why is that bush burning? But bushes in the desert, it takes a few seconds and they're burned already. But that fire continues on and on. So he doesn't understand what is this miracle about. And he comes and then he has a revelation. But here you have to see there's something really important. You cannot see it in the English translations, but you can see it only the Hebrew origin. And it says, and Hashem, the name, Youdkevitch, sees that Moses approached to see the burning bush. And then Vayikra Elokim, and Elokim calls Moses out from the bush. Vayomer Moshe, Moshe, and he calls him Moshe, Moshe. Why twice? He was hard of hearing? No, the Zohar explains. You have Abraham, in the binding of Isaac. Okay, Yaakov. You have that appearing many times. Shmuel. Every time it appears in this way, in that form, it means that that person achieved a level of being a Merkava. You have Moshe in the upper world, and you have Moshe of the physical world. You have Abraham of the upper world, Abraham of the physical world. Noach. Okay, every time that appears, those people were not just simple humans. They approached a level of becoming a chariot. A chariot from the French word charrette, composition. They had the ability to compose the magical spiritual universe with the physical universe. To bring a message to us that each one of us must bring that, because that's our destiny. We are here human beings to bring the magical supreme universe into the physical mundane and connect them into one, because they're really one. Okay, so how come they're not one? It's our state of mind. Only our state of mind. The law of uncertainty principle, the way you measure stuff, that's the way you make them be. So when your consciousness, your approach is materialistic, everything looks dead because it has only one dimension, the physical material dimension. Body without a soul. Cover without fulfillment. It's empty, void, and never fulfilling. That's what's wrong with materialism. Okay? So here, Moshe, he was granted the power to control both universes, like Abraham before, like Noah, like the other chariots. And then he reveals to Moses, God reveals to Moses, and he gives him his message. You should go to the land of Egypt, and you should deliver the Israelites out of Egypt. Okay? And I'll give you the power to do that. But Moses, verse 11, says to God, Mi anochi ki elech el Paro, who am I? That I'll go to Pharaoh. I will deliver the Israelites out of Egypt. It's like, I'm nothing. Verse 12, Vayomer ki ayemach, I will be with you. But in Hebrew, it could be read also, Eheye is with you. Why Eheye? Eheye is one of the holy names of God. In the Torah, in this parasha, we're already talking about Hashem, Youdkevitch, Elokim, one of the names of God, Eheye, one of the names of God, will be with you. Youdkevitch, we mentioned that before. When you come out of Egypt, you will worship me on this mount. So Moses is asking, God, here I am coming to the children of Israel, and I will tell them, the Lord, the God of your fathers, send me over to you. Tell They will ask me, what's his name? What does it mean? The Israelites don't know the name of God? מה אומר להם? ויאמר אלוהים אל משה. So Elohim says to Moshe, אהיה אשר אהיה. Wrongly translated, I will be whoever I will be. I am what I am. That's not what it says. It says, Ehyeh asher ehyeh. Ehyeh is the name of one of the names of God. One of the 10 names that you should not erase. When you write them, they're so holy. You cannot throw them to the garbage. You cannot erase them. If you don't need that piece of paper or object that you wrote the name on it, you cannot throw it to the garbage because this is not allowed. So there's a place you put Shemot. It's called Shemot. You put the names for Gniza, for it's being treasured and hidden. You don't throw them because this name is so holy. Okay, so the name Ehyeh will be the message for redemption. So that the story continues, but the most important thing is like this. Why does God have so many names? The Rabbi Isaac Luria explains that Moses, he knew about the coming redemption. He thought that the correction that the Israelites must do in Egypt is the correcting all the garbage their souls accumulated, connected to the name Youdkevitch. And Youdkevitch is the number 26. In Hebrew, every letter is also a number. Yud is 10, K, Hey is 5, Vav is 6, Hey is 5, 26. Okay? So and 10 Sefirot for each. So Moses thought the slavery should last 260 years. Here, what God is telling to Moses, no, the redemption is not through the name Youdkevitch. The redemption is through the name Ehyeh, which is another level. And Ehyeh is 21 times 10 to 10. And it's exactly 210 years after the slavery started. And that's why Moses is arguing with God. But still, when he says, but how would I do it? God says, who put a mouth to a human being? I'll put the word in your mouth. Don't be worried. You don't think. You can do it, but the moment I tell you to do it, I'll make you do it. Which means how many times we face challenges and our mind, our logic says that's impossible, but we have no choice. We have to face it. And what does that mean? God is saying, don't trust your logic. Don't trust your knowledge. Don't trust what you know about yourself. You have to trust me because that is a calling. And if you let me in, I will guide you through the process because you're not here to stay the same as you were born. You're here to grow. And how would you grow if you're not going to face slavery and bondage and limitations and overcome them? Because otherwise, what are you doing over here? You're not here to eat food. You're not a beast. Eating food, that's a byproduct, but you're not here to be like a cow, like a sheep, that they stay the same all their lives. You're here to face challenges, connect to the Creator himself, and with his power. How? When you use his names, you call those powers in. When you call those powers in, you can do what you think is impossible. And you'll see it later on when Moses is in front of Pharaoh. Chapter 5, verse 2. And Moses says, Moses says to Pharaoh, God said to me, Youdkevitch Hashem, to tell you, let my people go. Have you heard about it? Let my people go. And what is Pharaoh's answer? Verse 2, Vayomer Paro, and Pharaoh says, Mi Hashem asher eshma bekolo. Who is Hashem? that I will listen to him. But the Arizal is saying, we see in other places that Pharaoh has no problem to believe in Elohim. What's the difference? Every name of God is given to us in order to call another stage of consciousness, another power. So what is Youdkevitch? Youdkevitch is the name of God that connects us. We cannot pronounce it. Okay, we cannot save in the letters. Okay, but we can scan it, we can read it with our eyes, and we pronounce another name, Adonai, Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. But we can think about it. And when we call it in, as we think about it, as we read it, we call in one of the most purest levels of awareness, which is the consciousness of compassion, the consciousness of eternal love, the consciousness of greatness and grace. This is what it is about, the consciousness of heavenly forces and life that are beyond the enslavement in the body. Therefore, Pharaoh says there's no Youdkevitch. Why? Pharaoh says the Arizal was a great magician. You know, Egypt was full of black magic. He was the greatest. And he knew that the dark magic of Egypt was so strong that there was no way to connect to that state of mind that is called Youdkevitch. What does it mean when you connect to that state? You connect to harmony. You connect to equality. You connect to that place that I have the right to be happy, to be free. The whole story of the Exodus is to deliver that consciousness so the Israelites could turn from slaves into free human beings. And that depends on the awareness of Youdkevitch. And in order for that delivery, you need first to go through the awareness of Aleph K Yud K, Eheyeh. That's why it says on the burning bush, first you say Eheyeh Asher Eheyeh. It's not I am what I am. It is whoever translated, he doesn't understand the story. So the whole story of our lives is how do we tap into the endless light of the Creator through his names, because his names are the forces that when we contemplate on, meditate on, try to understand them, try to connect to their vibration. By this, we can lift ourselves from slavery, which is Egypt, which is our everyday habits and all limitations that we convince ourselves that we can never, ever redeem ourselves from, using those names. This is the crane. This is the liftoff that we could achieve in order to reach that freedom. And that's what we have to concentrate on through the next coming 8 weeks, through the story of the redemption. And that's why the Zohar is full of stories of redemption. Humanity's redemption, the redemption of the nation of Israel. It's all about one thing. The more we can connect to the awareness of the holy name of God, the more free we could feel, and the more free we could feel, the more we can overcome all kinds of emotions that basically our own free. This is our own Egypt. Thank you so much, and good luck with this journey that we're starting today. And we'll see you again next week.